Attention, brave souls. What you're about to witness might make your heart race. Before the suspense takes over your screen, click subscribe now and hit the like button. Get ready for a spine-chilling experience. But be warned, only the boldest will survive until the end.
My name is Nathan Cole. I am, or was a park ranger at Yosemite National Park. I'm 38 years old. For the past decade, my job was simple: keep the park safe, monitor wildlife, and make sure tourists didn't do anything stupid. But I need you to listen carefully. I don't know how long I have before they find me. The government is hiding something inside Yosemite, and I've seen it. I used to think I had the best job in the world, waking up to crisp mountain air, patrolling the vast forests, and feeling the kind of peace only nature can provide. That changed the day I started asking the wrong questions. There are places in the park that no one talks about, trails that don't appear on any map, areas with strange, unspoken rules, and I was always told to ignore them. Report any anomalies, do not investigate, do not ask questions. But when hikers began disappearing at an alarming rate, I knew something wasn't right. It started with Jeremy Porter, a seasoned backpacker. He had hiked Yosemite every year for the past 15 years. Then, one afternoon, he simply vanished. No distress signal, no sign of struggle, just gone. The search lasted a week. Nothing. Then it was the Martinez family, a father, mother, and their 2 children, last seen at a campground near Tenaya Lake. Their tent was still there. Their car was untouched, but they were nowhere to be found. I tried to file detailed reports, but every time, they were altered. The official statement was always the same: lost due to natural causes. That was a lie. One night, I was patrolling an off-limits area near Tulum Meadows when my radio crackled to life. "Nathan, do you copy?" It was Ranger Beckett, another veteran like me, but his voice sounded wrong, strained, like he was forcing the words out. "I need assistance. Near Cathedral Peak, I found something. Static. Then, beneath the static, something else. A deep, slow breathing. The kind that doesn't belong to a human." I raced toward his last known location. When I got there, his truck was still running, headlights illuminating the trees. The driver's side door was wide open, but Beckett was gone. No blood, no signs of struggle. Just his rifle lying on the ground, the barrel bent, like something had crushed it with bare hands. And then I saw them. The claw marks, deep, deliberate, carved into the bark of a towering pine. Not bear tracks, not mountain lion scratches, something bigger, something that wanted me to see it. I reported the incident. The next morning, I was called into the main ranger station. Dr. Elias Mercer was waiting for me. I'd seen him before, always lurking around the restricted areas, wearing an ID badge that outranked even the chief ranger. He wasn't a ranger. He wasn't even part of the National Park Service. He was something else. "I read your report, Cole," he said, his voice cold, measured. "You're mistaken. There were no claw marks, no signs of Beckett. You were under stress, overworked." He slid a folder across the table. Inside were photos, a different version of my report, one that had been edited, one that made me look insane. "You understand now, don't you?" Mercer said. "There are things in this park that you do not have clearance to know. Drop it. Consider this a warning." A warning. I left that meeting with a sinking feeling in my gut, because I knew 2 things. For one, Beckett was gone too. Mercer wasn't covering up disappearances. He was studying them, and that meant something was out there, waiting, watching, hunting. I should have left it alone. I should have turned my head, looked the other way, let the missing hikers remain missing. That's what they wanted. That's what the park rangers before me had done. But something about those reports gnawed at me. Disappearances scrubbed from records, radio calls that ended in silence, bodies never recovered. And that thing in the woods. I had to know. It was past midnight when I crept into the storage unit behind the ranger station. The metal door groaned as I forced it open, the cold air inside thick with the scent of old paper and dust. The place was cluttered with boxes labeled by year. Standard ranger reports, visitor logs, nothing unusual. But behind the last shelf, a cabinet with a rusted padlock caught my eye. Restricted. The word was stenciled in black, faded but unmistakable. I knew what I was doing could end my career, maybe worse. But my hands moved on their own, prying open the lock with a crowbar. A sharp snap echoed in the quiet, and the cabinet swung open. Inside, rows of manila folders, each marked with a case number. Most of them bore a single word stamped in red ink XCLCD. I pulled one at random. The hiker's name was Jonathan Rees. Disappeared in 2017. The official story: slipped on wet rocks, swept away by the river. Standard accident. But the attached autopsy report told a different story. Blunt force trauma, deep lacerations, multiple missing organs, not consistent with an animal attack, not consistent with anything I'd ever seen. My pulse hammered as I flipped to the next file. Emily Patterson, 2020. Vanished near the same restricted valley. Her last known transmission was included, a transcript of her final radio call. Her log start Ranger HQ. Emily, what's your location? Emily Patterson's ecstatic. I don't know. I think I went off trail. Something's out here. A Ranger HQ. Calm down, what do you see? Emily Patterson. It's not an animal. It's standing up. Watching me, Ranger HQ. Stay put. We're sending help. Emily Patterson. A shaky breathing. No, it's smiling. Our transmission ends. I stared at the paper, my breath shallow. The search party never found Emily. The case was marked COCD. A sick feeling crawled up my spine as I reached for another file. Then another, and another. They were all the same. Missing persons with bizarre, impossible wounds. Their radio calls ending in confusion, fear, and something else. A final document sat at the back of the drawer, separate from the others. A DVD labeled with nothing but a date, January 14th, 2022. I hesitated. Then I slid it into the old computer at the back of the storage room. The screen flickered, showing grainy night vision footage. A group of men in hazmat suits stood in a clearing, rifles trained on something just outside the camera's frame. Their voices were muffled beneath their masks. It's still moving. How the hell is it still moving? Another voice. Orders are to contain. Do not engage. A deep, guttural sound filled the speakers. Not an animal, not human, something between. The camera jolted as one of the men was yanked off his feet, vanishing into the darkness. The others opened fire, their muzzle flashes lighting up the trees, and then for a split second, the camera caught it. A tall, twisted silhouette. Eyes that didn't reflect light, but absorbed it, and a mouth that stretched too wide. Then the screen went black. I swallowed hard, every instinct screaming at me to leave, to burn the files, to forget what I'd seen. But before I could move, a new sound filled the storage unit, low and deliberate. Someone was clapping. I spun around, my heart slamming against my ribs. Elias Mercer stood in the doorway, slow applause echoing against the metal walls. Curiosity is a dangerous thing, Ranger Cole, he murmured. The air in the room felt heavy, charged. My mouth was dry. You should have stayed in your lane. I bolted. Mercer didn't follow. He didn't need to. I knew in that moment that I had just crossed a line I could never come back from. I don't know how long I've been running. The only thing keeping me moving is the raw instinct to survive. Every muscle in my body screams, but I can't stop. Not here, not now. The forest around me is blacker than ink, the towering trees swaying in the wind like silent spectators. My breath comes in ragged gasps, my boots crunching against the damp earth, but there's something else, a sound beneath my own. Something is following me. I don't look back. I can't. Every time I slow down, I hear it. A soft rustling, footsteps that don't belong to me, sometimes close, sometimes impossibly far, but always there. And then, the radio on my belt crackles. For a second, I think it's Mercer's men tracking me, but the static clears, and what I hear makes my blood run cold. Nathan. My name, a perfect imitation of my own voice. Nathan, stop running. I nearly dropped the radio. My own voice is speaking back at me. It sounds just like me. The cadence, the tone, as if I had recorded myself whispering into the void. I rip the battery from the radio and hurl it into the darkness. The sound of it hitting the ground is too loud, too final. My pulse pounds in my skull. This thing, whatever it is, it knows my name. I keep moving, deeper into the forest, the trees pressing in like a living thing. There's no trail anymore. Just me, the wilderness, and the thing hunting me in the dark. Ahead, barely visible through the shifting shadows, is my last hope, a ranger outpost. Old, abandoned, but still standing. If I can get to the radio inside, maybe I can call for help. I push forward, feet sinking into the damp earth, when suddenly, snap, a branch breaks somewhere behind me. I freeze. My stomach knots. The air changes. The forest stops. No wind, no rustling leaves, no distant cries of owls, nothing, just silence. And then, a breath, not mine, slow, shuddering behind me. I don't turn around. I should run. But some primal part of me knows if I look, if I acknowledge it, I won't survive. The breath lingers. A rasping inhale, a jagged exhale, so close. My fingers tremble as I force my legs to move. I walk step by step, my skin crawling as I feel its presence stretching behind me. My own body screams at me to run, but I don't. Not yet. Only when I reach the door of the outpost do I break into a sprint, slamming it shut behind me. The moment I do, the world explodes. Something massive crashes into the wood, shaking the entire structure. The door shudders on its hinges. Dust rains from the ceiling. I stumble back, reaching for the emergency flashlight mounted on the wall. The bulb flickers to life, casting long shadows across the tiny room. Another impact. The door bends inward, the wood splintering like brittle bone. I fumble for the radio, my hands slick with sweat. The emergency channel crackles, my breath coming fast. This is Ranger Nathan Cole, Yosemite National Park. I need immediate. The signal cuts out, static, and then a voice, not mine this time. Hisser, Mercer, Cole. He says, his voice calm, almost amused. You should have listened to me. I suck in a sharp breath, my grip tightening around the radio. You send it after me. I didn't send it. It chooses who it wants. A pause. You shouldn't have looked into the files, Cole. You were never supposed to know. Another impact against the door. It's not trying to break in. It's toying with me. A long, scraping sound runs along the wood, nails, or something worse, dragging across the surface. Mercer's voice hums through the static. Do you know why we haven't killed it? I don't answer. He continues anyway. Because we don't know what it is. We don't even know how it kills. A cold chuckle. No remains, no tracks, just gone. A long pause. Then his tone shifts, softer. You still have a choice. Another scrape against the door. My heartbeat is a hammer in my chest. You can stay here. Let it take you. Silence. Or you can come back. Work for us. Help us understand it. I don't respond. I don't breathe. Then the door creaks. A shadow seeps through the gaps in the wood. Dark, stretching, unnatural. And then a voice. Not Mercer's. Not mine. Something inhuman whispering from the other side. Nathan. I bolt. There's no thinking, no second guessing. I turn and crash through the back window. Glass slicing my arms as I hit the dirt outside. I don't stop. I don't turn around. I run, and behind me, through the trees, I hear Mercer's voice again, this time not through the radio. Right behind me. Calm, amused. Wrong choice. Cole. Then, the static cuts out, and the forest swallows me whole. I don't remember how long I ran. I remember the cold bite of the wind against my face, the sting of branches slashing at my arms as I crashed through the forest. My breath was ragged, coming in sharp gasps, and my legs screamed for rest. But I couldn't stop, not with that thing behind me, not with Mercer's men still out there. The night swallowed me whole, and the deeper I ran, the more I realized I didn't know where I was anymore. Yosemite had always been my territory. I knew every trail, every shortcut, every dead end. But now the trees felt unfamiliar. The ground beneath my feet felt wrong. It was as if the forest itself had shifted. And then I heard my voice. Nathan. It was coming from the darkness, barely more than a whisper. It echoed, distorted, like it was being dragged through something not meant for human ears. It sounded close, too close. I turned, expecting to see eyes watching me from the black, expecting to see it. But there was nothing, just the silence, just the wind. And then, ahead of me, headlights. A road. I stumbled onto the asphalt like a dying man crawling toward water. My body was shutting down, my vision tunneling. A car. A lone sedan, its headlights cutting through the night. I staggered into the road, waving my arms, half expecting it to drive right through me like I wasn't even there. But the tires screeched, the car swerving before coming to a stop. The driver, a middle-aged man with wide, confused eyes, jumped out. "Jesus Christ, are you okay?" I could barely form words. My throat was raw, my head spinning. I nodded, gripping the doorframe like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. "Where the hell did you come from?" he asked. I hesitated. What was I supposed to say? I was just running from a government experiment that mimics human voices and rips people apart for fun. I swallowed hard. I was lost. That was all I could manage. The man studied me, his concern deepening, but he didn't press. He opened the passenger door. "Get in." I didn't hesitate. The drive was silent for a long time. I kept glancing at the side mirrors, expecting to see something behind us, something moving between the trees. But there was nothing, just the endless black. The man cleared his throat. "You need a hospital." "No," I said quickly, too quickly. He raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. I leaned back, closing my eyes for a second, just a second. My pulse was still hammering in my ears. My body was shutting down, but my mind was racing, trying to piece it all together. Mercer, the thing in the woods, the missing hikers, the cover-up. I had to tell someone. I had to get the truth out before they erased me like they did the others. But when I reached into my pocket for my phone, my stomach dropped. It was gone, not just missing, gone, like it had never existed in the first place. I turned sharply. "Do you have a phone I can use?" The man hesitated, then reached into the glove compartment, handing me his. I dialed the only number that mattered, the ranger station. A monotone voice answered almost immediately. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." I froze. That wasn't right. That was not right. When I tried and then the other rangers, same response. I dialed headquarters. Nothing. Every contact, every number I called. Nothing. I sat there, gripping the phone, my breathing getting shallow. My hands were shaking. Something was very, very wrong. When we reached the nearest town, the driver pulled into a gas station. "This is as far as I go," he said. "You sure you don't need a doctor?" I shook my head, stepping out of the car on unsteady legs. "Thank you," I muttered. He nodded, then hesitated. "Whatever happened out there," he trailed off, then sighed. "Be careful." I watched his taillights disappear into the night. The gas station was empty, save for a bored-looking clerk watching something on a tiny TV behind the counter. I walked inside, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. The place felt too normal, too real. I grabbed a newspaper from the rack near the register, flipping through it absently. Then I saw the date. My breath caught in my throat. According to the paper, I had been missing for 3 weeks. No. That wasn't possible. That wasn't. I clenched my fists, my head pounding. I remembered everything. I knew I had just escaped, had just seen Mercer, The TV crackled. I turned. The screen had changed. The news was playing now. And then I saw my own face. The words below my photo read, "Investigue des parcs purus human da." The room spun. My heart slammed against my ribs. And then, the gas station door opened behind me. A shadow stretched across the linoleum floor. And a voice, calm, familiar, spoke just behind my ear. "You should have taken the deal, Nathan."